The Three Little Pigs, a rebuildcostassessment.com story. Once upon a time, there were three little pigs. All had reasonable jobs in construction, forestry management and agriculture. So none of them had to build their homes from straw or twigs or anything like that. In fact, all three had bought fairly standard homes, with one or two quirky features, like most properties. Sensibly, they all took out insurance, including the huffing and puffing wolf extension, as part of a comprehensive all-risks package. Unfortunately, the first little pig had been in a bit of a hurry when he arranged his insurance, so when it came to the sum insured, he used one of those free online calculators. The second little pig, believing he was much more clever than the first, spoke to a surveyor he knew in the next village. He asked him to come out and look at his new home, and although it took about 6 months because of a nasty case of swine flu that was going around, the little pig eventually received a letter telling him how much his building should be covered for. There weren't any measurements or details of how the amount had been calculated or anything like that, but hey-ho. The third little pig arranged an affordable, professional, desktop rebuild cost assessment of his home, which took just a few days. The first little pig laughed at the third, saying he'd got his online assessment for free. The second little pig laughed too, saying his surveyor had told him those newfangled desktops weren't reliable and that it was obvious his assessment was much better because it wouldn't have cost him 10 times more otherwise. The third little pig showed off the comprehensive report he'd received, but they still just laughed at him. Anyway, the next day a wolf came along, huffed and puffed and blew all three of the little pigs' houses down. The first little pig soon discovered he was massively underinsured because the free online calculator hadn't taken into account the restricted access caused by several trees and a narrow country lane. His property should have been insured for at least 30% more. He tried to sue the providers of the online calculator, but he was quickly shown the terms and conditions, which stated that the amount calculated could not be relied upon. The second little pig had some trouble with a loss adjuster, who came up with a different sum insured. The little pig showed him the letter he'd received from his surveyor, but because there wasn't any calculation or breakdown, the loss adjuster still wasn't convinced. After a stressful and prolonged dispute, the second little pig's claim was eventually paid. But he wasn't laughing anymore. Hey-ho! The third little pig was also contacted by an equally enthusiastic loss adjuster. However, when the adjuster saw the comprehensive rebuild cost assessment report he had, and also learned that the underwriters had agreed to waive the average clause based on the pig's professional valuation, he quickly left with his tail between his legs. And so, the moral of the story is, be afraid of the big bad wolf, but don't be afraid of desktop assessments. At rebuildcostassessment.com, we've been checking our desktop assessments against our site surveys for almost 5 years now. We know that when they're appropriate for the property, they're just as reliable. We wouldn't recommend them otherwise. Site assessments are sometimes necessary, which is why we also offer them, but most of the time they're not. Don't be like the first and second little pig. Be more like the third. But always remember to wear clothes, please. Visit rebuildcostassessment.com today for affordable, professional building insurance valuations.